Hey everyone, and welcome to another deep dive. We know exams are coming up, so we're focusing on a topic that we're pretty sure is going to be on there. Pricing strategies.
Yes.
It might not sound like the most thrilling thing in the world.
It's pretty important, though.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It is super important. And honestly, it's way more interesting than you might think
Oh, yeah.
and can really give you a leg up not only on your exams,
Right.
but also like in the real world.
Absolutely. You know, what I think is fascinating about pricing is that it's not just about numbers.
Right.
It's about psychology, too, like understanding customer behavior and even a bit of marketing magic, you know?
Yeah, it's like a puzzle, figuring out how to price things in a way that makes sense for the business, but also for the customer.
Absolutely.
So today we are going to break it all down for you,
Yes.
covering all the core concepts and theories and definitions that you need to know. All brought to you by Grade Guru. And hey, don't forget to check out gradeguru.nl for practice exams and a full summary of everything we're going to talk about today.
Absolutely.
But for now, just like buckle up because we are about to go deep into the world of pricing strategies.
Yes.
All right, so let's just jump right into it. Imagine you've just invented this amazing new gadget, like something totally revolutionary.
Okay.
How do you even begin to figure out what price to put on it?
That is the million-dollar question, quite literally.
Yeah.
There are two main strategies that companies use when they're launching a brand new product.
Okay.
Market skimming pricing
Okay.
and market penetration pricing.
Okay. Those sound kind of self-explanatory,
They do.
but let's break them down.
Sure.
So market skimming, is that like skimming the cream off the top of the milk?
Exactly. You're going for the highest possible price right out of the gate.
Okay.
Targeting those early adopters, the folks who are willing to pay a premium to be the first ones on the block with the latest and greatest.
Right.
Think Apple.
Huh.
They are the masters of this. Every time they launch a new iPhone, they start with a high price, then they gradually lower it as newer models come out,
Right.
and they capture different segments of the market along the way.
That makes so much sense. So you're not only maximizing profit from those early birds, but you're also creating this buzz and exclusivity around your product.
Exactly.
But there's got to be a catch.
Right.
This can't work for just any product.
You're right. Market skimming is only effective under certain conditions.
Okay.
The product needs to be perceived as high quality and innovative enough to justify that initial high price.
Right.
You also need to be confident that there's a sufficient number of those early adopters out there who are willing to pay that premium.
Right.
And crucially, you need to have some kind of competitive advantage, something that prevents competitors from swooping in with a cheaper alternative too quickly.
Right. So you need to be able to maintain that high price for at least a little while.
For a while, yeah.
Okay. So if market skimming is going high, then market penetration is going low.
Yes, it's the opposite approach.
Okay.
With market penetration pricing, you set a low price from the beginning, aiming to capture a large market share as quickly as possible.
Okay.
The idea is to make your product accessible to a wider audience,
Okay.
discourage competitors from entering the market, and hopefully gain a dominant position.
So it's like a land grab. You're claiming your territory in the market by being the cheapest.
It is.
Okay. But doesn't that mean sacrificing profits?
It can initially, yes.
Or?
But the strategy relies on high sales volume to drive down production costs and create economies of scale.
Okay.
The more you sell, the lower your cost per unit becomes, which eventually allows you to increase your profit margins.
Right.
Plus, by grabbing a large market share early on, you can potentially create brand loyalty
Right.
and make it harder for competitors to gain a foothold.
So they're kind of both playing the long game.
Yes.
Okay. So both strategies have their own advantages.
Yes.
And the best one really depends on a lot of factors.
Yeah.
The type of product, the competitive landscape,
Right.
your overall business goals.
Yeah.
But let's move on from single product pricing and talk about what happens when a company has a whole bunch of products,
Okay.
like a software company with different levels of subscriptions or a car company with various models.
Sure.
How do they figure out the best prices for that whole mix?
That's where product mix pricing strategies come into play.
Right.
And it's a whole other fascinating layer of the pricing puzzle.
Okay.
The goal here is to find the optimal set of prices for the entire product line, maximizing profit across the board.
Right.
It's not as simple as just pricing each product individually.
Right.
You need to consider how the prices relate to each other and how they influence customer perceptions and buying decisions.
Okay, so let's dive into some specific examples of product mix pricing.
Sure.
First up, product line pricing.
Okay.
Can you give us a real-world example of that?
Sure. Think about software companies like Adobe or Microsoft.
Right.
They offer different versions of their software at different price points.
Right.
You might have a basic version with limited features for a lower price,
Okay.
and then more advanced versions with additional features for a higher price.
So it's not just about covering the cost of adding those extra features. It's about understanding how much customers are willing to pay for different levels of functionality.
Exactly. It's about creating a tiered pricing structure
Okay.
that caters to different customer needs and budgets,
Mm.
allowing the company to capture a wider range of the market.
Right. Okay, now let's talk about optional product pricing.
Right?
This one's pretty familiar to anyone who's ever been to a fast food restaurant, right?
Yes.
Would you like fries with that?
You got it. It's the art of offering add-ons or upgrades
Uh-huh.
that complement the main product.
Okay.
Think about car manufacturers who offer premium sound systems or upgraded leather seats,
Right.
or appliance companies that sell refrigerators with optional ice makers or water dispensers.
Right.
These optional features might have a relatively low cost for the company to add,
Right.
but they can significantly increase the overall price of the product and the company's profit margins.
So it's a win-win, right?
It is.
Customers get the flexibility to customize their purchases and get exactly what they want, and companies get to boost their sales and profits. Speaking of clever ways to increase profits,
Mm-hmm.
what about captive product pricing?
Okay.
I feel like I've definitely fallen victim to this one a few times.
We all have captive product pricing is all about those essential extras
Okay.
that go hand in hand with the main product.
Mhm.
Think about razor blades and razor handles, printer cartridges and printers, or even coffee pods and coffee machines.
Okay.
The company often prices the main product relatively low to attract customers,
Okay.
knowing they'll need to purchase the captive product repeatedly,
Right.
which is where they make their real profit.
Right. So it's a strategic two-step. You draw them in with the initial purchase
Yes.
and then generate that recurring revenue from the essentials. Okay, it's a brilliant strategy from a business perspective,
It is.
even if it can be a little frustrating as a consumer.
Yeah.
But hey, at least they're getting creative.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what about byproduct pricing? That one sounds interesting.
Byproduct pricing is all about turning waste into profit.
Ooh, I like that.
It's a sustainability win and a financial win.
Okay.
Companies find innovative ways to sell their byproducts, things that would otherwise be considered waste,
Okay.
offsetting disposal costs, and even generating additional revenue.
So it's like the ultimate upcycling.
It is.
Okay, give us a cool example of this in action.
There's a great example from the agricultural industry.
Okay.
Some companies that process soybeans to extract soybean oil
Mm-hmm.
have found ways to sell the leftover soybean meal as animal feed.
Wow.
They've even developed specialized byproducts for different types of livestock,
Oh, wow.
further increasing their revenue streams.
So something that was once considered waste is now a valuable commodity. It's amazing. It's like a reminder that there's always potential for innovation and creativity in the world of business.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the last one on our list. Product bundle pricing.
Okay.
That one's pretty self-explanatory, right?
It is.
But it's worth diving into because it's such a pervasive and effective strategy.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so product bundle pricing is all about packaging multiple products together
Mm-hmm.
and selling them at a discounted price compared to buying each item individually.
Right.
Think about software suites,
Mm-hmm.
cable, and internet packages,
Yeah.
or even those value meals at fast food restaurants.
Exactly.
Bundles are everywhere. And I have to admit, I'm a sucker for a good bundle deal. It feels like you're getting so much more value for your money.
I agree, and that's exactly why bundles are so effective. They tap into our psychological desire for value and convenience. We feel like we're getting a better deal, even if we might not actually need all the items in the bundle.
Right.
And for companies, bundles can be a great way to move inventory, introduce new products, and boost overall sales.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here, from market skimming to product bundles.
We have.
We've seen how companies set prices for new products and how they manage pricing for an entire portfolio of products.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing that's becoming increasingly clear is that pricing is not a static process.
Right.
It's not like you set a price once and then just forget about it.
Absolutely not. The world of pricing is dynamic and constantly evolving.
So in the next part, we'll delve into those price adjustments, the tactics and strategies that companies use to navigate this ever-changing pricing landscape.
It'll be interesting.
But before we move on, just a reminder that this deep dive is brought to you by Grade Guru. Make sure to head over to gradeguru.nl for practice exams and a full summary of the material we've covered today.
Yes, it's the perfect way to make sure you really understand it all.
Yeah, and ace those exams.
Exactly.
All right. Stay tuned. We'll be back with more pricing insights in just a moment.
We will. Welcome back to the deep dive. As we were talking about before, companies have to constantly adjust their prices in response to so many different factors.
Yeah, it's like they're playing this constant game of pricing chess,
Exactly.
always trying to anticipate the next move
Right.
and stay one step ahead.
Yeah. So let's break down some of these price adjustment strategies.
Okay, what's the first one on our list?
Well, everybody loves a good deal, right?
Oh, yeah.
So let's start with discounts and allowances.
Okay.
These are those classic tactics that companies use to attract customers and, boost sales.
Right, like those flash sales and limited time offers that are always popping up in my inbox.
Exactly. There's a whole range of discounts and allowances out there. Cash discounts reward customers for prompt payment.
Mm.
Quantity discounts encourage bulk purchases. Seasonal discounts help clear out inventory during those off-season periods.
Right.
And then you have functional or trade discounts. Those are given to distributors who perform certain marketing functions.
So it's not just about offering a lower price. It's about, incentivizing certain behaviors and building those strategic relationships.
Absolutely. And then you have allowances,
Okay.
which are like financial incentives that manufacturers offer to retailers
Okay.
to encourage them to promote their products. You might see trade-in allowances where you get a discount for trading in an old item.
Right.
Or promotional allowances where retailers get paid for participating in advertising campaigns or special promotions.
So it's all about creating these, win-win partnerships within the supply chain.
Exactly.
Okay, now let's move on to a slightly more nuanced strategy.
Okay.
Segmented pricing.
All right.
That sounds a little bit more complex.
It does.
What's the thinking behind that one?
Well, it's all about recognizing that not all customers are created equal.
Right.
They have different needs, different price sensitivities,
Mm-hmm.
and different purchasing habits.
Okay, so instead of offering a one-size-fits-all price,
Right.
you tailor your prices to those different customer segments.
You got to think about movie theaters that offer discounted tickets for seniors and students.
Right.
They're acknowledging that those groups might have more limited budgets or different viewing patterns than the average adult moviegoer.
Okay, or how about airlines that charge a premium for business class seats?
Exactly.
They're catering to a segment that values comfort and extra perks, and they're willing to pay more for it.
Absolutely. Segmented pricing can be a very effective way to maximize revenue and capture a wider range of the market, but it only works if you can clearly identify and divide your market into distinct segments with different price sensitivities.
Right, so you have to do your research and understand your customer base.
You do.
Okay, we've talked about discounts and allowances. We've looked at segmented pricing. Now, let's get into the really fun stuff.
Okay.
Psychological pricing.
Ah, yes. The art of influencing buying decisions through subtle psychological cues.
I love this stuff.
This is where things get really interesting.
Yeah, it's fascinating how our brains can be, tricked into perceiving value in certain ways.
Yeah.
So tell us about some of those sneaky tactics that companies use.
Okay, well, one of the most common and effective techniques is called anchoring. You've probably experienced this without even realizing it.
Okay, give us an example. How does anchoring work?
Imagine you're shopping for a new TV.
Okay.
You see one model priced at $1,000,
Okay.
and then right next to it, you see a very similar model priced at $700.
Okay.
The $1,000 model serves as an anchor,
Okay.
making the $700 model seem like a fantastic deal,
Right.
even if it's still more expensive than you were initially planning to spend.
Oh, I have totally fallen for that before you see that higher price. And it instantly shifts your perception of what a reasonable price is.
Exactly.
Uh,
Another powerful technique is called framing. It's all about how you present the information.
okay, give us a framing example.
Sure. Let's say you're selling the subscription service.
Okay.
You could frame it as costing $10 per month
Okay.
or as costing $120 per year. Technically, it's the same price,
Right.
but framing it as a lower monthly cost often makes it seem more appealing,
Mm-hmm.
even though you're ultimately paying the same amount.
Wow. It's amazing how these subtle shifts in wording can have such a big impact on our decision-making.
Absolutely. Our brains are constantly looking for shortcuts,
Right.
easy ways to process information, and these psychological pricing techniques, they really take advantage of those shortcuts.
It's like hacking our brains.
It is.
Okay. Let's move on to another exciting area. Promotional pricing. This is the one that gets everyone's attention.
Promotional pricing is all about creating a sense of urgency and excitement, driving those short-term sales.
It's like a shot of adrenaline for the retail world.
Exactly. Think about those flash sales that offer incredible discounts for a very limited time. Or those limited time offers that make you feel like you need to act now or miss out on an amazing opportunity.
Right. I'm always tempted by those only 24 hours left deals.
They're designed to tap into our fear of missing out. And then you have those classic promotional tactics like cash rebates, low-interest financing, offers extended warranties. They're all designed to sweeten the deal and make the product more appealing.
Okay, so we've covered discounts and allowances, segmented pricing, psychological pricing, and promotional pricing. We're really getting a sense of the wide range of tools that companies have at their disposal when it comes to adjusting prices. What's next on our list?
Let's talk about geographical pricing. This was all about recognizing that location matters.
Right. Prices can vary wildly depending on where you are in the world.
Exactly. Geographical pricing takes into account factors like transportation costs, local market conditions, currency fluctuations, and even cultural perceptions of value.
So a product might be priced differently in a big city compared to a rural area.
Yes.
Or in a developed country compared to a developing country.
Absolutely. And then there's the whole world of online retail where geographical boundaries become even more blurred. Companies need to consider how to price their products for customers all over the world, taking into account currency exchange rates and local purchasing power.
It's like a whole new level of complexity.
It is.
Now let's talk about dynamic pricing.
Okay.
Which is arguably the most cutting edge and data-driven of all the pricing strategies we've discussed.
It is.
Dynamic pricing, that sounds a bit futuristic. What's the basic idea?
It's all about using technology and data analysis to constantly adjust prices in real time, responding to changes in demand, competitor pricing, and even individual customer behavior.
So instead of having a fixed price, the price can fluctuate based on a whole range of factors.
Exactly. Think about ride-sharing apps like Uber and Lyft. Their prices surge during peak demand times, or in areas where there are fewer drivers available. Or how about those travel websites that seem to know exactly when you're searching for flights and adjust prices accordingly?
Right. It's a little creepy.
It is a little bit.
But also kind of amazing.
It is. It can feel a bit like magic. But it's all powered by sophisticated algorithms and a wealth of data.
So dynamic pricing is really all about using data to your advantage.
It is. And as more and more businesses gain access to these data-driven tools, we can expect to see dynamic pricing become even more prevalent in the years to come.
It's both fascinating and a little bit scary to think about how much data is being collected and used to influence our purchasing decisions.
I agree.
Okay, let's wrap up this section on price adjustment strategies with international pricing.
Okay.
This is another layer of complexity that companies need to consider when selling their products globally.
Yes.
So it's not just about translating your website and marketing materials.
Right.
You also need to carefully consider your pricing strategy for each specific market.
Absolutely. You need to factor in things like economic conditions in different countries, local regulations and tariffs, currency exchange rates, and even cultural perceptions of pricing.
Right. What might be considered a reasonable price in one country could be seen as like exorbitantly expensive.
Yes.
Or suspiciously cheap in another country.
Exactly. It's all about understanding the nuances of each market and tailoring your pricing accordingly.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here, from discounts and allowances to the mind-bending world of dynamic pricing. It's clear that pricing is a constantly evolving field, with companies always looking for new and innovative ways to adjust their prices and stay ahead of the curve.
Right.
But what happens when companies need to make more substantial changes to their prices?
Okay.
What factors might lead them to initiate a price cut or a price increase?
Right.
And how should they respond when their competitors make significant price changes?
Those are excellent questions, and they lead us into our next section where we'll delve into the strategic considerations involved in initiating and responding to price changes.
All right, sounds good. Welcome back to the deep dive. We've been talking about all sorts of pricing strategies, from those initial pricing decisions for new products to those constant adjustments that companies make in response to the market. But sometimes it's not just about tweaking prices here and there.
Yeah.
Sometimes companies need to make like bigger, bolder moves, like initiating a significant price cut or price increase.
Yeah.
What drives those decisions?
Well, let's start with price cuts. Sometimes a company might find itself with excess capacity. Maybe they overestimated demand, or maybe there's been like a sudden shift in the market.
Right.
In those cases, a price cut can be a way to stimulate sales and kind of get things moving again.
So it's like a strategic clearance sale.
Yeah.
You're just trying to move that inventory and keep the cash flowing.
Right.
But price cuts aren't always about reacting to like internal factors, right?
Right.
Sometimes it's about responding to the competition.
Absolutely. If a competitor suddenly drops their prices, you might have to follow suit, at least to some extent, to avoid losing market share.
Right.
Or maybe you're trying to be the disruptor. You want to shake things up in the market and attract new customers with a more aggressive pricing strategy.
So it's almost like a pricing war.
It can be,
You're
yeah.
battling it out with competitors to see who can offer the most appealing price.
Mm-hmm.
But those can be risky, right?
Well.
You don't want to get caught in a race to the bottom
You don't.
where everybody's profits suffer.
Exactly. Price cuts need to be strategic and well considered.
Right.
You need to weigh the potential benefits, like increased sales volume, market share gains,
Mm-hmm.
against the potential downsides, reduced profit margins, damage to your brand perception.
Okay, so we've talked about price cuts now. Let's tackle the other side of the coin, price increases.
All right.
Those are never easy decisions, are they?
They're not,
I mean, nobody likes to see prices go up,
especially as consumers, no?
especially as consumers, but sometimes they're unavoidable.
They are.
Inflation is a big one, right?
Huge.
When the costs of raw materials, labor, transportation, all of that stuff
Everything.
that goes into making and delivering a product starts to rise. Companies often have no choice but to pass those increased costs along to consumers
They do.
in the form of higher prices.
Right. It's like a ripple effect.
Yeah.
Those cost increases work their way through the entire supply chain and eventually hit the consumer's wallet.
And sometimes a company might increase prices because demand for their product is simply outstripping supply.
Right.
If they can't keep up with orders, they might raise prices to cool down demands a bit
Mm-hmm.
and manage their inventory more effectively.
Yeah, it's the classic supply and demand dance.
Right.
When demand is high and supply is low, prices tend to climb.
But here's something I've always found interesting. Sometimes a price increase can actually make a product seem more desirable.
It's true.
How does that work?
It's all about psychology and perception. Think about luxury goods. A high price tag is often part of their appeal.
Right.
It signals exclusivity, quality, prestige.
Mm-hmm.
So a price increase in some cases can actually reinforce that sense of luxury and desirability.
It's like that old saying, you get what you pay for.
Right.
Sometimes a higher price just makes us believe that a product is inherently better
Yes.
or more valuable.
Absolutely.
Now let's shift gears a little bit and talk about how companies should respond when their competitors change prices.
Okay.
This is where things get really strategic. It's like a game of chess. You have to anticipate your opponent's moves and plan your counter strategy.
You do.
So first step, try to understand why the competitor changed their price.
Right. What are they trying to achieve?
Exactly. Was it a temporary promotion, a desperate attempt to clear out inventory, or a more strategic move to gain market share?
Exactly. Once you understand their motivation, you can start to assess the potential impact on your own sales and market share.
So you're not just reacting blindly, you're analyzing the situation
Right.
and making an informed decision.
Absolutely. If you do nothing, will you lose customers to the competitor?
Right.
Will your profit margins take a hit? These are the questions you need to ask yourself.
Okay, so let's say you decide to respond.
Okay.
What are your options?
Well, one option is to match the competitor's price.
Okay.
This might be necessary if the market is very price sensitive and you don't want to lose customers. Right.
But it'll likely reduce your profit margins, at least in the short term.
So it's a trade-off.
It is.
You're trying to maintain your market share, but you're also potentially sacrificing some profitability.
Right. Another option is to hold your price steady,
Okay.
but emphasize the value and differentiation of your product.
Okay.
Highlight the unique features, benefits, or quality that set you apart from the competition.
So it's like saying, sure, they might be cheaper,
Right.
but we offer something that they can't match.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're appealing to customers who are looking for more than just the lowest price.
Right.
You could also go in the opposite direction and actually raise your price,
Okay.
while also improving the quality or features of your product.
Okay.
This positions you as a premium brand and appeals to those customers who value quality over price.
It's a bold move,
It is.
but it can be very effective if you can really convince customers that you're offering a truly superior product.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And finally, you can launch what's called a fighter brand.
A lower priced product line designed to compete head to head with the price cutting competitor. while
Okay.
protecting your main brand's premium positioning.
So it's like creating a separate army to fight on the price battlefield,
Exactly.
while your main forces kind of hold their ground.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we've seen how companies can initiate price changes and respond to those initiated by competitors, but there's one more crucial aspect of pricing that we need to touch on:
Okay.
the legal and ethical considerations.
Yes, that's an important point. Companies don't have free rein to charge whatever they want. There are laws and regulations designed to prevent unfair or deceptive pricing practices.
Right, so it's not just about what's profitable, it's also about what's legal and ethical.
Absolutely. One area of focus is pricing within channel levels.
Okay.
This refers to interactions between companies at the same level of the distribution chain, like manufacturers or retailers.
So, for example, competitors working together to fix prices or drive each other out of business.
Exactly. Price fixing is strictly illegal. Companies cannot collude to set prices or rig bids.
Okay.
Predatory pricing selling below cost to eliminate competition is also outlawed.
Mm-hmm.
These practices harm competition and ultimately hurt consumers.
Right. It's all about ensuring a level playing field and protecting consumers from those unfair practices.
Exactly. Now let's look at pricing across channel levels.
Okay.
This involves relationships between companies at different levels of the distribution chain,
Okay.
like a manufacturer and its retailers.
So, for instance, a manufacturer dictating the prices that retailers must charge.
That's one example. Retail price maintenance, where manufacturers try to control retail prices, is generally illegal.
Okay.
There are also laws against price discrimination, where sellers offer different prices to different buyers for the same product without a legitimate justification.
Right.
And of course, there are laws against deceptive pricing, tricking consumers with misleading or false information about prices or discounts.
Right. So, transparency and honesty are essential
Absolutely.
for maintaining trust and fairness in the marketplace.
Mhm.
Wow. We have covered a ton of ground in this deep dive. We've explored the core concepts of pricing strategies, from those initial pricing decisions for new products all the way to the legal and ethical considerations. Hopefully, you're feeling a lot more confident about your understanding of pricing and maybe even a little bit fascinated by this complex and ever-evolving field.
I hope so.
And remember, if you're preparing for those exams, Grade Guru is here to help. Head over to gradeguru.nl for practice exams, summaries, and all the resources you need to ace those pricing questions.
Absolutely.
Great advice. We've packed a lot into this deep dive. But remember, the learning doesn't stop here. Keep those brains buzzing, stay curious, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive.
Until then, happy studying.